I'm here at Magfest with game designer Jordan Pierson. Thank you for speaking with me.
And thank you.
I'd like to start by asking about the game you've developed. Can you tell me about it?
Yes. So Akari is a 2D narrative platformer. It was actually very heavily inspired by, I absolutely loved growing up with anime films. I absolutely loved Studio Ghibli growing up, so the inspiration came from that. And so working on the whole entire project has actually been where we actually wanted to integrate 2D and 3D and see where we could go with it. So actually it was all 2D sprites, all hand-drawn, all imported of the engine, and a 3D world. We were trying to really bring that immersive experience and something that's a narrative, tells a story, and really helps you connect with the characters.
All right. Is this, how many other games have you worked on?
So actually, this is my second project. The first project I worked on was also a 3D platformer. Just aimed as my first little project, was wanting to get it out there up on itch.io. Somebody just wanted to just get out there, learn from, get some experience, and really just see where it went. The whole game, when I first got started, I'm basically just out of college, I'm basically just inside college, sophomore year, just trying to learn a little bit more about game design. It's been a lot of fun working on all the projects, and this is my second, so
okay.
to learn.
All right. How do you know, or how do you think you'll know when a game is finished?
So, truly, honestly, it's hard to say sometimes. Sometimes when a game, when you're working on it, especially from a developer standpoint, you see all the bugs, see all the errors, sometimes need to be fixed with the game. So, truly, a game that's delayed is also better than a game that's rushed and put out with all these bugs and features. Originally, when I first put my first game, it wasn't perfect, but I just wanted to get some notes, take some notes, learn from the experience. But definitely, with Akari right now, we're looking into either end of the year into next year, but truly and honestly, it's all about if a game's polished, if a game feels like it's right, if the controls are tight, that's all that really matters. So making sure that everything is all smooth and ready to go. So making sure that it's all just tight knit, that's when the game is truly ready, and making sure that the game is a fun experience for everyone, and not just rushing development. Yeah.
What inspires you?
So as far as game development, as far as the game, truly, honestly, I absolutely just love video games. When I grew up, I used to play. I'm a Nintendo family. I'm a GameCube kid. I used to love just sitting down with my family and friends and just playing a whole bunch of just multiplayer games, a whole bunch of just fun story games. I absolutely, I just enjoyed it so much. Originally, the reason why I got into game design, because my friends was like, hey, if you like movies so much, if you like, video games so much, have you ever tried to pick up an engine, make a game of your own? And also my brother at one point took it on. He tried to make a video game of his own also. I was just like, you know what? I want to do just that. I want to make a video game myself, see where it goes. And absolutely, the minute I started, I absolutely enjoyed every single bit of it. It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
What is your most important designing tool? Is there something special you need in your workspace?
Oh man, that's a good question. Okay, so usually any time that I'm working on, a project, I usually just have to turn on some tunes. I usually just find like a whole bunch of awesome, either anime playlists or just, awesome games, let's say from either Final Fantasy. I love Kid Icarus Uprising. I love having a good music setup around me. So just to get me in the mood, get me in the zone while I'm working on a project. Along with that, I usually make sure I have my tablets and everything on hand. I usually have my laptop to one side, my desktop on the other side, and one big scribble on notepad, just taking down notes of anything I see. If that doesn't work, just write it right down. If you see anything else, and that's pretty much how I just work on the whole project. That's pretty much it.
So you're working fast, it seems like.
So pretty much all the time, just I usually just load the whole game's basically a bedroom game. I just load up my laptop. If I see anything that's wrong, I try and fix it. Just grab a sheet of paper real quick, write it down. And I usually just take everything, just take notes, and just import it to the computer and just see where it really goes from there. Yeah.
Are your notes organized, or is it kind of?
Hey, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. Usually it's just like, I'll use it for later. I'll use it for later. Sometimes I have watermarks on it, something like that. I'll usually just recycle them, use them all over again. But at the end of the day, it works. It works.
It's funny. All right. Is there an element of game design you enjoy working with most, and why?
So that's okay. So that's great. Usually when I'm working on the video game, I usually love working on the art style along with the environment. That's why Akari is very heavy in that. I usually love making so that the atmosphere that you're playing in, I want the players to be immersed in the world. I want them to really feel like they connect with the characters. Okay, that comes first. So originally, while she was talking to my cousin, he actually also helped out with sprite design, trying to make sure the sprites are very cleaned up. And so me and him teamed up on that. And one thing we wanted to make sure is that the sprites at least felt like our hand drawn. At least feel like they kind of at least make sure the design was very tight. At least make sure that the world around Akari was very, tight knitted. It was good, and make sure it ran smooth. That's really the most important part. Making sure the players really felt like they were in that world. Making so that the lighting, the shading, everything just looks beautiful, and really making sure they have a good time inside the game.
So it's in the underworld, right?
Yes, it's all spirit world elemented. A lot of it's actually inspired by feudal Japan. A lot of it also Asian cultures. Like we looked inside, ancient India. Looked inside, Chinese culture, like Taiwan, like Siamese culture as well. Try to different influences, learn from different cultures, and that's really what it's all about. Trying to learn from different experiences, just different worldly cultures, and see where that goes, and to take that on, and and all of a sudden it just makes a world of its own. And so we enjoy doing that.
So is that something you're really into, or is it for the game that you use it?
So honestly, I've always truly been into that. I remember playing, games like, I remember when Skyrim originally came out, and the whole open world concept, that's all brand new to me, and Elder Scrolls introduced me to that, and seeing you have a huge environment around you can explore. Games like Legend of Zelda, games like a whole lot of games are doing the same exact thing, where they open up a whole world for you to explore, a whole different places to go, and I absolutely just enjoyed seeing that, enjoying that. I really wanted to try that out myself. I'm still a student, I'm still learning, but I at least want to give it a shot to the point where I can at least, learn something from it and, gain something, and gain something from it. At least have the players enjoy it, and so I personally enjoy it myself.
So you answered some of this already, but how did you start making games, and why do you continue?
So when I first started making games, again, my brother basically just started picking up video games. He actually made one himself. Leroy Jenkins, in the greatest video game ever. It's a small little video game project he did. It was really fun. It was a whole big PC video game he did. And I was really inspired to try and work on a project of my own. Originally, when I got started, I was just tinkering with a few other assets, trying to see where the engine went with. At first, I started with Game Maker, started with Unity, went with Unreal Engine, and every single bit of it gets so pesky and annoying. It's a process. It's complicated, but there's a little joy in fixing just one little bug, making something the most great enjoyment I ever had was when I had a character, and I actually 3D modeled that character. I rigged it up, followed so many tutorials trying to get it just right, and the most greatest accomplishment was just getting it to walk. And for some odd reason, I was just like, hey, it's walking, it's staying on the ground. And the next big accomplishment was actually getting it to stay up on the ground, checking the collision, making sure it could actually walk on a plain surface. Yeah. That was just the most amazing feeling. I don't know why, but just seeing something just move and seeing something that you create as you come to life is just something just brand new. It's awesome, Yeah. And that's really the magic behind it. And that's kind of kept me going. And I just love making that experience where people can just play, hey, here, break this, try this, and seeing where that will go. And it's been awesome.
So are you a patient person then?
Hey, so, it's really, all the time. Growing up, I'd be downstairs in my basement, and my mom would be like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just playing with Legos or doing whatever. I'll be hours and hours on it, and the same thing with video games, same thing, hours and hours on it. But I always loved, trying to just build on, just layer on top of layer on top of layer. It's a process. It can be, I wouldn't call myself a patient person sometimes. Sometimes it can be very aggravating and tough, but it's just you just tough it through it. And it's just every single little accomplishment makes it you kind of get a little bit better and better and better. Heck, even with Akari, when working on it, originally it was just what? I don't know where Akari's going. Sometimes it's just I don't know what I want it to be, how I want it to be an experience, do I want it to be 2D, 3D? It's a whole bunch of possibilities. But at the end of the day, I was just if I just keep my head about me, just test it out, let some people try it out, then I think, it should go my way. And all of a sudden, just, testing, and from there on, the whole project's been amazing. And just, being patient and, learning from it is basically the best part about game design in general.
All right. How did your first success within game design change the way you design? What was the success, and how did it change you?
So there's one thing I remember. So actually, the first game I actually worked on, ISOPs, it was actually at Skills USA, basically this huge competition, I think, in Louisville, Kentucky. And so originally, one of my friends said, or one of my classmates or teachers, they said, hey, we actually have a competition you can just join in on, which you can, unveil your game and, take it off and basically, test your game on a competitive level. I was like, okay, this is brand new, this is crazy. So I'll see where it goes. And and I put out ISOPs to test out, and it won gold at states, and I was just blown away. It was the first time I actually won anything that big in my entire life. I was just I was about to cry almost. It was this amazing experience, being able to show a game to some other people and just see them actually enjoy it and love it. And that really, just changed my whole thinking. And it's just that people will play your game, and whether they like you or not, the fact that we just take the time to actually just play it, and at least take the time to at least leave feedback and learn from it, it's just so awesome. And so from then on, went to nationals, and the game won third. And I was just like, okay, well, this changes my whole perspective on things, And from there on, I was just like, you know what? Game design is a very special field. It's very universal. I have people where you have musicians, you have sprite artists, you have 3D modelers. They all come together from different industry, engineering, architecture, and you see them all, looking at the game industry, and there's something really special about it. And I absolutely just love that, and it kept me going, but that accomplishment by itself, just let me be like, hey, heck, even there's even kids coming up to the booth and they're playing, the game. I was just like, a minute a kid or a child picks this up, they're gonna be like, hey, I grew up on this, I grew up on that. And to say that I grew up on a game that I'm working on is just so humbling. It's just so amazing, and it's absolutely beautiful. I just love that experience. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. It's a blessing.
All right. So, what do games or the game designer? What role do they have in society?
So the game designer right now, we're kind of just like, we're kind of the mad artist sometimes. It's just like we, as a game designer, you kind of just tinker around, just see where it goes. We're very much, what I can definitely say is that from a lot of the people here, the awesome booths around me, awesome neighbors, they all are just awesome entrepreneurs. They all have their own dream, all dreamers. They work so hard to make it a reality. They are very tight-knitted to the point where they're very committed to their projects. They'll take the time, the effort. They're very, very patient. They're very loving to their players and everything. Where they'll take the time to really open up and really tell you about their life story and their journey in making the project, and that's so awesome, hearing them so much from that. So the game designer in society is just like, they can do so much. They can change the world almost. They open up new designs, new stories to tell, and there's so much they can do, and it's absolutely amazing. It's stunning almost. It's awesome.
What movies, and you mentioned some of these, but what movies, books, games, or other creative media in science fiction or fantasy have inspired you? Okay, so I do admit, one of my favorite games, one of my favorite games I remember playing was actually Star Fox Assault for GameCube, and I absolutely loved that game. I don't know why, but I absolutely loved it. For some odd reason, the gameplay was really fun, it's fast-paced, and you play as Fox McCloud and play a few other characters, and all those different characters you kind of fell in love with. Of course, people get annoyed with Slippy saying, "Oh, help me, Fox, help me." I'm just like, you know what? When Slippy dies, you lose your boss health bar. When Crystal goes away, you lose your item. So each character has its own importance to them, and they all are kind of close knitted and tight, and they kind of have this little they feel like family. So all the characters that are around you just feel like you're one tight knitted community. And so games like Fire Emblem, I play Fire Emblem Fates. I play even movies like Studio Ghibli and other things. They really make you fall in love with each of the characters, make you fall in love with the world that they built up. And so I always dreamed of making a game that can do the same exact thing, where a kid could be like, the minute they see a character, they're like, I know exactly who that is, and they have a cherished memory of that exact character in their mind. They just don't forget it. They just don't forget it at all. That's awesome. So do you feel like movies and TV just don't give you the same enjoyment because it's not interactive? I feel like, right now, I'm a big Marvel fan, I'm a big MCU fan, I grew up in the comic books and everything. But one thing I do admit is that originally I do video editing. I love doing video design and love doing reviews on the side. But one thing I do notice is that when you make a video game, you really get immersed where you're just playing, you're pressing buttons, you're actually really interacting. I feel like movies are kind of a little bit missing that experience, where it's great visually, and movies can also move people, and so can TV in some ways, but games just do it on a whole different level, where they really make you feel like you are that character, really make you really get immersed in the experience, and I think that's what the video games kind of have an up on in the industry. A lot of people, they look at games, and they say that, okay, well, they kind of look at, I've seen people kind of look at it almost as childish, or it's like, oh, okay, well, games are just, just for a little pastime, but it's like, I've seen people mention, and I've seen stats where, game design is basically almost it's $1 billion industry. It's almost just it makes just as much money as music and movie companies. Heck, even VR, virtual reality, as of right now. I've worked with it myself. They're trying to use it in AMC and Regal. They're trying to use it in different movie studios. They want that interactive experience that the gaming industry has, and they're trying to merge it over. So it's a humongous field, and I feel like movies and everything, it's great, but it's over here, in games, it just does a little bit more. It's a little more. So looking ahead, do you think do you think the movie industry will successfully take the game industry, or do you think the game industry will take the movie industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, as far as I love both industries. I love them to death, but I really think that the game industry has something really special. I've seen people that they get committed to a game and they just don't stop. I remember watching a documentary about like Super Smash Bros. Melee and that community, how tight-knit they were, and they started off small, and they took over one convention to another convention, then they end up at MLG, then they end up at EVO, and then they just got slowly started off small, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger and started taking over. Same thing with Warcraft, same thing with Cuphead, all these other different games, and same thing with the gaming community in general. If they love that game, if they love the community, it's going to expand. I really feel like it's going to take over industry after industry. Like right now, movie industries, we're just like, okay, we see what augmented reality can do, we see what virtual reality can do, we see what games have done to other gamers and memories, and we want to try and bring that experience inside of our own films. And so that's convinced me a lot more of that, definitely. I really see they're going to be taking over even the movie industry. I really see that actually happening, and even like end of this year into this year, it's actually happening right now. It's happening right now. And I feel it's awesome.
Well, it makes me wonder if, you know, movie producers are very, they're focused on the bottom line. And obviously, the big game producers are too. But I can just imagine a movie producer trying to tell game designers, change this and that. Right. And I think that's going to be a trickier point, because right now, you see, like, game movies, and it's just like, oh man, this is awful. Why is it awful? Even I think, me and my dad, we actually went to go see Assassin's Creed. I grew up on Assassin's Creed, and seeing it in a movie format, it was just like, okay, it wasn't bad, but I think like it was the same. It's like, you want to know why? Because trying to integrate a game into a movie is just like you're taking away the immersive experience. It's hard to connect, and it's like, and even having a game producer talk to a movie producer, they're whole different levels, they're hoping two different worlds. So seeing that collide, you have, it's interesting. I feel like it could maybe go somewhere if you're willing to collaborate, if you're willing to coexist and really talk through the problems. But I really think that it can really go somewhere. I feel like it can be improved. I really feel like it can, I can see where, I really truly think it can go somewhere if we just coexist and just learn from each other. I really think that can happen. Is there a game you want to create? What big game idea do you have that you want to do?
Yes. So right now, actually, I do have this video game up. It was actually up on the website for a short period of time. Right now, we temporarily pulled it back because right now we actually want to try and get it as perfect as possible in development. It's all a project of mine called Trustulence. Probably one of the first projects I ever tried to imagine happening, right? It was too large scale at the time, so I was just trying to get into game design, but it's basically like a hack and slash action adventure. And actually, it was based around, anime themed kind of 3D worlds, kind of same thing, kind of seeing Akari, kind of translated. But I absolutely loved the idea of trying to make it so that you can actually interact with multiple characters at once, and actually interact with one story, collide to another story, and having kind of go over top of each other, where we kind of have like different possible choices inside the storyline, and making it so you can also have customization and stuff like that. So I've always dreamed of making a game like of that caliber. But right now I'm still young, I'm still learning. But I would dream of making a game where I could actually do all of that, experiment with other communities. Right now, Akari is pretty much like a 2-man to 3-man project, but I really want to expand out where right now, even the game studio I'm working on right now, it's very small. It's a bedroom company, but I want to actually start it up, get it, make it bigger, see where it goes, and trying to, make a game that's, I feel like, high enough caliber for a market, or trying to make it fun where people actually have memories inside of that game.
So that's all the questions I have. Do you have any final thoughts or comments?
Hey, the only thing I can say is that I'm extremely happy to be here with my partner here at Magfest. It's been an absolute blast just being here, just learning from Akari, just talking to all the different fans. We've had people from all over, people from across the country, from here in Maryland. We have kids, blind gamers. We have people coming up to the booth and talking to us, and it's been such a humbling and just a blessed experience just being here for the first time. It's been absolutely unreal, and I just want to say thank you to everyone that's come to the booth, and it's been absolutely amazing. We thank all of you for that. Yeah. All right. Cool. And. So real quick, how can they get information on Akira? Oh yeah, so for Akari, if you want to find, it's all good. If you want to find out more about Akari, you can go to JEPgames.com. We have a huge website on there with a small description of Akari. If you also would like, you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All our updates are on there, just at JEP Games. If you want to find out more, we have all information also up on YouTube, including all our different video updates. If you want to check it out, you can also go there as well. So it's JEP as in J-E-B? Yeah, so it's JEP Games. JEP Games, we call it JEP Games, but JEP. So Yep.
P as in Paul?
Hey, P as in Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
JEP Games.
Yeah, so
Okay.
JEP Games. Yeah, that's it.
All right, cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Please visit chrisalvarez.com for more cool stuff. You can also find my website and social media information in the podcast show notes. Thanks for listening and keep imagining the future.